Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely challenging. And I think it's one thing I learned on Don't Pass Me By, which was my first feature, which kind of was like that. I didn't go to film school. That film was my film school. It's like I felt like I was thrown into the deep end of the ocean and I didn't know how to swim. And it was like every day it was something new that I didn't know how to do. And oh, that, I didn't even know that was a thing. Or, you know, we had to legal papers and just all these things that came at me. And simultaneously trying to play a woman dying of cancer. So it was like, it was hard because it was like I'd be in the scene and, you know, this really emotional scene and they would say cut and I was like, do we have lunch? Like, have we fed everybody? You know, it's like, it is a crazy kind of a thing. But I think what I learned from going through that way is that so much of it comes down to planning and preparation ahead of time, which we didn't really do on that because it kind of just all fell together and then we were shooting. But the pre-production, I think especially if you're wearing multiple hats and especially if you're playing a role in the film, is to really make sure that you and your crew are so on the same page before you get to the first day of shooting so that you can be in front of the camera and your DP and the other producers and the first AD, like you guys are already on the same page. So I know that if I need to step into actor role, that they're gonna have me covered because we've already talked about it. And I think that's, you know, it's interesting too, like from the writing standpoint, acting standpoint, because it's almost like when I'm writing, I'm not thinking about myself in the role. It's like the character's separate. So when I'm playing it, it's interesting because, and especially if working with a director or anyone really who hasn't been in my head with me while I'm writing, is hearing what other people bring to the table. Like things, I thought I knew what a scene was, or I thought I knew how a character was feeling in a given moment, but then the director gets in front of me and says, did you think about like this, that, or the other thing? And it's like this incredible moment where you're like, I wrote this and I did not even know that was in there. And it's so obvious. So that's where I think, you know, especially at the earlier phases when there's fewer crew and a lot of, you know, I think a lot of young actors and filmmakers are doing, like wearing a lot of hats to try and get their films made. And I think it's realizing that like, yes, make sure your film gets out there and do what you need to do to get it made, but also to understand the benefit of collaboration because the people who you do bring on, and especially if they're people that you trust, like they're gonna infuse the story with so much more than you knew was even there. And that's just what happens when people with different perspectives and different specialties kind of get their hands on material that you wrote, which is so amazing to kind of witness.